Hello friends! I would like to welcome you to the next concert in the classic season by the Philippine Philharmonic Orchestra, which takes place November 14, Friday, at the Cultural Center of the Philippines Main Theater. We have an exciting lineup of music by Mozart, Haydn, and Sibelius. Franz Joseph Haydn wrote a number of what are now called the London Symphonies, which he composed in London. The 97th Symphony is one of these symphonies and is in standard four-movement structure, with an adagio that leads to a vivace movement, an adagio second movement, a minuet and trio third movement, and a presto finale. The symphony is one of the works of Haydn which shows his propensity for musical humor. His use of melodic and textural surprise is evident in his sudden pauses and the timpani outbursts. The 97th Symphony is one of the three Haydn symphonies programmed for the Philippine Philharmonic Orchestra classic season of 2014-2015. We get to feature four of our very own wonderful PPO musicians in the Mozart Sinfonia Concertante. As a matter of fact, I think I hear them playing some music right now. Why don't we go take a listen? Mozart's Sinfonia Concertante for four solo wind instruments and orchestra dates from the composer's unsuccessful trip to Paris in 1778. Mozart had gone there to try to establish himself in one of the musical centers of Europe, but instead became quite dismayed by the difficulty in making himself known. At last, an opportunity seemed to present itself when Mozart received an assignment to compose a Sinfonia Concertante, a concerto for multiple soloists, but the promised performance never took place, and Mozart returned from Paris without the score for his Sinfonia Concertante. Although he assured his father that he would reproduce the lost work from memory, neither the promised reproduction nor his original manuscript have been found. The version of the piece usually heard today was later discovered. In it, the solo flute is replaced by a clarinet, a move consistent with Mozart's well-known preference for the latter instrument. Although not everyone is convinced, the consensus is that it is indeed Mozart's rescoring of his original work. Well, now that we've heard a little bit of music from these wonderful musicians, why don't we get to know them a little bit? Don, where did you do your music studies?
I finished my Bachelor of Music degree, majoring in Oboe, University of Santo Tomas, under the tutelage of Olivier Mendoza, former member of the Philippine Philharmonic Orchestra. And I finished my masteral at Hiroshima in Elizabeth University of Music. And
I think I understand that you also teach at the University of Santo Tomas now.
I'm teaching in UST.
At UST. And I think the four of you do some teaching around town. You're four of the most prominent musicians around. Pom, you've played with the Philippine Philharmonic before.
Yes.
What can you say you look forward to about playing with them again, and what can you say about your past experiences playing with your colleagues?
Yeah, it was a very nice experience playing with the PPO. I did the John Williams concerto for Bassoon, Five Sacred Trees, and this time different period. So this time it's Mozart, and I'm looking forward for great performance, and playing with the PPO is really fun.
JR, who can you say are composers that have inspired you or that you enjoy performing?
Mozart, because he is important composer to everyone, and he wrote four concertos for horn, and these four concertos is incomparable to each other because of its beautiful melody and structure that every horn player will love. Mozart concertos is the most played around the world.
And of course in the Sinfonia Concertante you have quite a beautiful part and very virtuosic. And Ariel, what can listeners look forward to in the Mozart Sinfonia Concertante in E-flat?
Well, everybody should come and watch this concert because here we can see Mozart's personal affections to wind instrument, especially. In his symphony and operas, there's a lot of good solos with a wind instrument. And even in his piano concertos, there's a nice dialogue between the piano solos and the wind instruments.
Well, now that we've heard from our musicians, why don't we hear a little bit more of their music playing? They will play a little bit more of the Cassazione by Johann Georg Lickel. This piece was actually attributed to be by Mozart for a certain amount of time, but now we know that this is by Lickel. If you want to hear the Sinfonia Concertante of Mozart, make sure you come to the Cultural Center of the Philippines main theater at 8 p.m. November 14th. Take it away, guys. The Finnish composer Jean Sibelius is most famous for his violin concerto, which has to be one of the top 5 performed in the violin repertoire, and his Symphony No. 2. Written in 1902, the symphony is one of the warmer compositions of the composer, as Sibelius is known for the frigid character of his music. Known in Finland virtually as a national hero, Sibelius' Symphony No. 2 was connected by many with the struggle for Finland's independence from the Russians. Although Sibelius' reaction to this has been debated, there is no doubt that the glorious final movement of this work has a very positive mood to it, full of fanfare and beautiful melodies which are built almost entirely from a 3-note motif that actually opens the symphony and is heard in various mutations throughout the work. The symphony is in 4 movements, opening with an allegretto, then giving way to a solemn andante that starts with a mysterious plucked passage in the low strings and a brooding motif in the bassoons. The 3rd movement brings back the more jovial element of the symphony, save for a more sorrowful moment in the oboe, purported to have been written in memory of Sibelius' sister-in-law. The movement leads without pause into the 4th movement, which is one long climactic build and which ends with what has to be one of the most glorious passages written for orchestra. So we look forward to seeing you November 14th, Friday, at the Cultural Center of the Philippines main theater for the next concert by the Philippine Philharmonic Orchestra.
See you at the CCP!